Interactions, animations, micro interactions, that's the fun stuff that we're going to get into today with Figma. So you probably recognize this design from earlier in this series, and I'm going to show you how to create these animations and micro interactions right here. So there's 4 different types of interactions that I'm going to show you. Then I'm going to put you to the test by taking this hero section, which we've already worked on, and I have a few different animations I want you to integrate. And there's a lot of creative freedom, so it's gonna be fun to see what some of you come up with. Now make sure to watch the whole playlist. If you're landing on this video randomly, there's 15 other videos before this one. Make sure to watch these in order if you want to get the most out of it. Check out DesignCourse.com. I'll stop rambling now and let's get started.
All right, let's get started. So the very first thing that we're gonna do of the 4 different interactions / animations that we're gonna do is the most simple, which is this share your music button right here. Now we've already done, I think, 1 or 2 button interactions, so this should be review for some of you or for most of you. And so the first thing we need to do is select it. And this text is kind of strange. It's blocking our ability to select this right now. So what I'm gonna do is just lock those real quick, so that I can gain access. I think locking those 4. There we go. So now I can select it. It's called frame 6. Let's just call this BTN for button. And let's go ahead and click up here to create a component right in this button. All right. And then we also want to have 2 different states for this particular button. Just a default state, which is where it's styled now, and then a hover state. So 2 states. And so what we need to do is click this plus right here to add a variant. Now when we do this, it kind of breaks the layout. So what we want to do is just kind of create an area, hit the F key, draw out, left click and drag, just an area to position this component now. We just rip it out of there. So now with the background, I like to keep the frame background the same as whatever it's going to be on. So I'm just going to grab that color. Now we can see them. And we have to ask ourselves, how should this button change when somebody has their mouse and they're hovering over it here on desktop? So a common pattern that I like to do is to change it up quite a bit and just kind of flip the colors. So for this instance, this is going to be the hover instance. We can change this over here at the fill. So we could possibly just get rid of the fill entirely just by hiding it, and then taking the text inside of it and making that white. All right, you can see it's like an outline button now. Then we switch up here to the prototype tab. We double click into the default state, left click and drag down, and this is not going to be on click, this will be while hovering. And I personally want this to be instant, meaning it's going to instantly change from the default view to the other view. If you change it to Smart Animate, for instance, it's going to transition between those 2 states. For me, for this type of button, I just like it to be instant. I think it's a better effect. And that's all we have to do. So this is called BTN. So if I go over to my assets and I search for BTN, we'll see the button. Now we can go ahead back and drag it over here. So I'm just going to use my keyboard arrow keys to position this back. And there's a couple different ways to preview your layout. So let me close these out. One way is just to select this and hit play right here. It's going to open up a new tab and we can now hover over it. Yay! Now, another way of doing it, which might be a little bit faster, is to click the down button up here and then choose preview instead. And then with this frame selected, this one right here, you can now see and you can refresh to see if there's any animations, and it's just kind of an extra window for you. Okay, so now that we have 1 of 3 down, let's do the search interaction. This is going to be a fun one because you're going to see a lot of the potential in creating these micro interactions. So let's go ahead, and with this selected, we're going to create component. And once again, I'm just going to drag this whole thing over here, out of view. There we go. And then we're going to create a component, an actual variant. So there's going to actually be 3 different states for this one. A default state, which is the top one. A hover state, which is this one. And then a click state. When they click it, it's going to expand out. So here's how this first one works. Let's go ahead and make the adjustments. I'm just going to do what we did over here and flip them. So really, I'll take the fill and make this white. Grab the actual icon. You may have to double click a couple times to get to the actual icon color itself. And then we'll choose this color. Great. So now we can go to prototype, drag this while hovering. And this can be instant too. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And then, so now we want to make sure this is named properly so we can find it. So we go to layers, called frame 10. Let's double click that and just do search. There we go. Go to our assets, come back here, type in search, drag it on roughly to where we want it to be. And then now we click play. You actually can't see that, so I'm going to go back to the regular presentation mode. And if we hover over it, there we go. Now let's add the third interaction. So I'm going to just take this here and we're add another variant. And for this variant, once again, let's go ahead and real quickly make those changes. And this, okay. For this one, all we're going to do is just pull this off. So first, before I do that, let's take this, extend it out. And I'm also going to take this one, and if I go to design, we want to make sure this over here is to the left, not the center. Same thing with this one, to the left, not the center. Now when we pull this out, it's going to stay right around there. So now I'll pull this in. We switch to prototype. Now let's get this alpha here. And we're going to drag this here. All right. And then we're going to specify on click. And we're going to make this a smart animate. And for the duration, maybe like 800 milliseconds. We'll see how it is. Linear, we're going to change this to ease in and out. And then for this one, we're going to attach this. If somebody clicks it, we're going to go back to the original state. So this will be on click, smart animate, 800 milliseconds. That should be good. Let me go ahead and mute my phone because I think my wife is texting me like crazy. There we go. All right. And now this is called search. So let's go to assets rather. Oh, it's already over here. Sorry. So if we go back here and we click this, look at that. Now there was an issue. If I zoom up, see this? Oopsie, something happened there. I'm not sure what, but that should not be happening where there's a shift. So let's go back here and see what the heck happened. So what I'll do, and I want to include this just to show you how you can kind of make sure and like troubleshoot things. So the overall width of this element here is, and this is also in the center. Let me just click this. I know why. Because we changed the orientation of this. So if we do the same thing here, they should be more consistent, but they're not exactly correct looking. That's interesting. Okay, so if I go like this, let's take this back here. Let's see what happens now that I made that change. Sometimes you may need to refresh this. If you hit R, it will, or it should rather, restart. Let me go back here and just hit play on our main element. There we go. So yeah, so it's only slightly kind of pushing that off to the left when we get there. Let's go back. I tell you, things just have to be a pain in the butt. See, we can't move it because we have that, but we do have the ability to modify this property right here. So if I hit Shift R and get a ruler out or a guide here, we can make sure that these are exactly where they need to be. So if I grab this, okay. Now if I go back, it's perfect. Now that's not smart animate. So let's adjust that real quickly. So if I take this, this seems to be instant actually. If we go from this to this element, very interesting. Oh well, it's not a big deal. We got most of it right anyhow. So now that we have those two things, let's further focus on another animation here. And so this one's going to be just making this bob up and down, like a very subtle, just to give some movement essentially. So what we'll do is I'm going to take this frame and make it a lot larger because this is a big asset. I'm going to just throw it over here. As you can see, it kind of goes down far. And before I create a component, I want to put this in, wrap it inside of a group, or not a group, a frame rather. And the reason we'll do that is because this will not work if we don't do that, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So I'm going to frame selection. Now notice I click content. We don't have to worry about this. I'll show you what I mean in future by that. But now what we could do is take this and make a component out of it, make a component state, double click into this actual area, and then just push it up a little bit. That's it. So now we take this element in prototype mode, and this is going to be after a delay of 1 millisecond, because we want this to happen on page load and instantly. And then we're going to change this to linear, because if you add any type of other easing to it, it'll make the animation seem weird because we want it to just bob up and down. And for the duration, let's say like 4 seconds, so 4,000 milliseconds. And then we take this one and we animate it back as well. So we take this, animate it up. This is not on click. Again, this is after a delay of 1 millisecond, 4,000, and that looks pretty good there. Make sure that it's named properly. Frame 12, we'll call this mic. Now we go back to our assets, type in mic. We're going to throw this in. Now it's on top of our actual design, but I'm not worried about that for now. I want to just see what this looks like and see if it ends up playing. So sometimes you'll need to restart that. Okay. So here's what it looks like so far. It's going up too high and past this area. That's not a big deal. We need to bring it down just a bit and also situate it behind these layers down here that we have locked. So if I take my mic, we're just going to drop it down a little bit until we're underneath those areas. Actually, I'm going to go between them, I think. Yeah, that's better. So it's like this. So now let's see what this looks like. So we have our interactions, we have our button interaction, we have this bobbing up and down now. Very cool. Now we're gonna do one more before we conclude and I introduce the challenge. And this one's a little bit more tricky. So it's basically taking these elements right here. This is not lined up for some reason. And we want to modify them in such a way, I'm gonna lock that so we can grab these, so that they're a infinite scrolling marquee. They just keep on going and going and going and going. Now, there's only really just 2 unique elements here, but so forget about the content and all that stuff. But if you ever wanted to create like, or even taking this text right here and make it just infinitely scroll across, this is a technique that you can use. So what I'll do is grab just 2 of these really. So I have 4 elements. We have 2 pieces of type and then the 2 icons. For now, I'm just going to copy those and then delete them. I'm going to delete this just to get everything out of here. Okay, so now I'm just going to paste them back in. We're going to shift them all the way to the left where you see that red guide essentially showing up. And I'm going to put these inside of a auto layout. So I switch over here to design, click auto layout. Ooh, wait, first before we do that, sorry about that. We're going to group these. So Control G and then Control G. Now we can put them in auto layout by selecting both of them. There we go. And what I'm going to do is just take this, we'll duplicate it, take this, copy it, duplicate that. We can switch these around, by the way. So if I come in here, this one will be there, and now they're kind of, you know, adjusted in such a way. Now, what I want to do is really extend this out pretty far because we want about 7 or 8 of these. And we only have 4 of them right now inside of this. So if I take both of these and do that, now the reason we can't see it is because this is overflown just a bit. Let's take this and this, paste that. Okay, so that's clearly way enough, and you'll see why we have to essentially do this in order to get this to scroll properly. So now that we have that, we want to add a group around them. So Control G, Actually, no, we're gonna add a frame around. I keep on saying group, but I mean frame. Right click, add frame. And so frame selection. And we're gonna choose clip content. And we're gonna drag this all the way here. Okay. There's a lot of setup work. This is a little bit more of a complex one. So now that we've done that, we can now create the component and create the component variant of it. And what I'm going to do is we're going to take this and shift it. No, we have to double click into it first to make sure that we're grabbing the right thing. So it's going to be the frame 12. And we're going to shift this just right here to where they look like they're exactly matched up again. All right. And it's real important that we get these evened up properly. So Shift R, we're going to drag out a ruler that goes right to the edge of this icon up here. And we want this icon down here with frame 12 selected to be aligned to it as well. All right. So if I zoom up, we can see it's aligned perfectly to it. And this one is aligned perfectly as well. You want them to be perfect, essentially. So now that we've done that, we can take this, double click into this, we want to grab the first variant, which is this one. Go to prototype. We're going to drag it down. This is going to be after delay of 1 second because we want this to happen on page load. We'll make this last pretty long, so 10,000 milliseconds or 10 seconds. And this is going to be linear, smart animate, and that's good. Now this one, the one beneath it, we drag this up, and this is after a delay of 1 second, but this time, instead of a smart animate, we do instant. It's instantly just going to reset back, and it's going to look, hopefully this works. It's a little bit complex, but I did test it and it worked before, so we'll see how that goes. So now what I want to do is just take this whole thing and just put it over here for now. And we're going to call this, instead of frame 13, we're going to call this logos. No, this isn't logos. This is features, sorry. Features. Now we go to assets. We're going to search for features. And we're going to drag it in. All right. We'll put it right there. All right. So now let's go ahead and click play and hope to God it works. Okay, so it's getting cut off a little bit. We can fix that at the bottom. But remember, this first section, it lasts for 10 seconds, right? So we want to make this, we want to ensure that this actually just keeps going beyond 10 seconds to make sure we set up everything correctly with the second variant. And it looks like it is, and it's just perfectly scrolling. You can't tell any of the changes we made. So awesome stuff. As you can see, you have a lot of fun with creating these interactions and these animations. And now it's your turn. By the way, this is a little fast. I would slow that down. And you want to make sure that, we can pull this down. That way it's not getting cut off anymore like that. But yeah, very solid. So now what we want to do is switch gears, and now I'm going to introduce your animation challenge and interaction challenge. So we've all seen this one before if you've been following along with this course. And once again, we got a hero section here just like I showed you. And this time I want you to do a few things. Here are the rules. Add interactions and animation. So the first thing I want you to do is animate the Join Today button in the nav bar with a hover change. This one right here. So make that a hover change. I want to see I want to see how you change it when the mouse is hovered over it. So again, put up a frame like up here to house your components. You can have multiple frames, one per component. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. On page load, animate the headline and subheadline. So that means when the page loads or you click play, make these animate in somehow. They can animate from behind. You can actually add a frame around it. So let me show you something really cool. So if I add a frame the selection, and I choose to clip content right here, then I can double click and grab the text, and guess what? Just animate it from nowhere. And you can create a component variant with 2 states. I would personally do that. So again, though, this is up to you. You have some creative freedom in terms of how you choose to do this. So I would do that to both of these. And then number 3, animate something in the green console section. So you know, there's a lot of ideas that you could play around with. You know, you could have this maybe hovering over here and changing the button color. You could do something with a scrolling marquee with this section. It's up to you. And then finally, this is a bonus. You don't have to do this. Make the logos at the bottom infinitely scroll as a marquee. These 5 logos, make them infinitely scroll. You just saw how to do it in the previous, you know, this variation right here. See if you can do it here as well. Make sure you read the submission instructions in the description here and get them done as soon as possible. And I will review them tomorrow. Yeah, this is getting fun. We have day 16. We're doing this for 14 more days with this UI UX series. Hopefully you follow along. Check out DesignCourse.com, and I will see you soon.